What is the all function in Power BI, and how or when do you even use it? Well, today I'm going to show you using a simple example how and when this can be used. The all function is simply a way of telling Power BI to ignore all of the filters, whether that be at a report level, a page level, or even a visual level. To explain what I mean, let's jump straight into Power BI. So what I want to do in Power BI is create a table that calculates the total sales for each product category, but that also shows the proportion of sales for each category. In other words, is one category producing 10% of my total sales? Is another category producing 50% of my total sales? Well, we won't know this until we have worked this out. So the first thing that I want to do is create a table, and I want to bring in my product categories. Let's do that by going to our dim product category table and dragging in name. I'm going to rename this as product category. And the next thing that I want to do is calculate total sales for each of these. So let's go ahead and do that. We will create a new measure to do this. I'm going to call this total sales. And it will simply be the sum of sales amount. Next, I am going to format this as a currency, a US dollar, and drag it into our table. So there we have the total sales for each product category and the overall total sales for all product categories. Now, there are two ways I can go about finding the percentage. Firstly, I can simply bring in a pie chart. Let me copy and paste this table and create a pie chart. There we are. We know instantly that bikes are actually bringing in 96% of our total revenue. Now that's great, but what if you want to create a measure that does this and bring it back into this table? Because we can't simply turn this pie chart back into a table. It won't work for us. Let me do that. You see, I've turned the pie chart back into a table, but we don't have that percentage there for us. Let me turn it back into a pie chart. So what can we do instead? Well, actually, there are two things we can do. The first is a shortcut that we can use. Now, it won't show you how to use the all expression, but I will show you anyway. What we need to do is click on our table, so make sure that's selected. We want to drag in total sales again. Of course, the numbers are duplicated. That's fine. What we now want to do is click on this drop-down arrow here and show value as percent of grand total. So as you can see, we now have this table showing us the percentage of sales. But again, this doesn't show you how to use the all expression. So here's where we can now create our own measure that does the same thing. Firstly, how do you calculate a percentage? Well, what you have to do is take, for instance, accessories, $700,000, and divide it by 29.358 million, and then times it by 100. That's how you get your percent. So we need to create a measure that does that. Well, we already have our numerator, which is total sales. Now we need to create the denominator, and that's where the all expression comes in. Let us create a new measure that does this. I'm going to call this percentage of sales. Initially, this won't be the percentage, it will be the denominator. What I want to do is calculate the sum of my sales amount again. But there's a difference here. If I bring that in, it's going to give us exactly the same number as our total sales. What I want to do is ignore, at this visual level, the product subcategories, right? So for every single row, I want to bring in 29.358 million. I don't want my dimension table, which is a product category table, to be sliced by accessories, and then bikes, and then clothing at each line. So how do we do that? Well, we need to wrap this around in an all function. So let's use calculate to do that. Let's bring in our filter expression, and that will be all. So we will say all. And what do we want all of? Well, we want all of our product category names. So I've closed that off, and let's press enter, and let's bring it in. Now I would expect to see 29.358 million on each and every row. And as you can see, that's exactly what we get. The next thing that I want to do, now that we know it's working, is bring this together back into our expression. So if I open up the measure again, I now want this to calculate my percentage. The way to do this is simply by using the divide expression. So let's divide total sales, which is a measure we've already created, by our denominator, which is now created. We have an alternate result here, which we can use. So if there are no total sales, for instance, such as components where there are no sales at all, what do we want to show? Do we want to show 0%, or do we want to show blank and not have this come into the table? Well, what I want to do is simply have blank. So there we are. Now all that is left for me is to click on the percentage sign here, because I haven't multiplied it by 100, but formatting it as a percentage does it for us. And as you can see, the percentages match the numbers that Power BI provided for us using our little shortcut. So that is one way in which you can use the all function, and I hope this showed you how the all function effectively ignores the filters that are either on a page or on a visual. If you learned something, please hit the like button and subscribe for more.